Ugh. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a crooked garage, as usual, because my camera mount sucks. See if I can get this thing tightened down a little bit. Deal with it. I am pulling up the chat room here. Let's make sure I mute this. And pop out the old chat window. There we go. Well, Mike, it is that time. Oh, this has got to be so hard. Are you kidding me with this? Open sesame. Okay. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the garage. It has been a entirely unproductive day. Hello, West Coast. Hello, East Coast. Yeah, I play a little disc golf. I haven't played this season, but I thought those were going to be colder. Woo! So, tried to do some tuning today. Tried to do some tuning videos. Got to the bottom of the driveway. The wideband was dead. The gauge itself, luckily I had another wideband gauge, so I had to come up and jerk the wiring out, different wiring, and yeah. So then I go out, try to do some tuning, and I keep on blowing silicone couplers off. Stock motors, what is plugs and gap? What are they, heat range 7 or something like that, and then gap's going to be 35 or so on a stock motor. Is there a way to see an exhaust restriction on a data log other than an EGT or back pressure sensor? That's a good question. I don't know, honestly. Trying to think of a way that you could. Tuner Pro RT. I don't know. What is Tuner Pro? Does that answer your question? Is that the old, that free LS stuff? The old LS1 software or something? No, I do not use Tuner Pro. To answer your question. Oh man, it is warm. Sun is shining. It is a little toasty in here. So I'm chasing AC issues. Compressor won't come on at idle. Is there a table to adjust for the compressor coming on at idle? I honestly do not know. AFR is going rich due to air not circulating enough due to exhaust restrictions. I mean, that might work. Yeah, I'm kind of with Vaseline on this one. Are you just sure that you're not low? Hook a gauge up. Make sure that you got good enough pressure to activate the compressor. What up, 325? So I was working on a video for this stupid spark cut, and it seems like it might somewhat be tied back to traction control, but right before I blew the coupler off again, I went out to get a pull in, and it's still doing it. Still doing it. I mean, it did it at 3 psi this time. And I had traction control bypassed. So I don't know what the heck's going on with this stupid timing situation. I have a solution that will work. Thanks, Savage. Thanks for watching. Scuba Sam, no, the MPVI2 cannot be used with the Tech 2 Win GDS2. You've got to use the VX Diag or the MDI2. This is an MDI2. This is the GM tool, even though this is the Chinese knockoff version of it. So, or an MDI1. Get the MDI1 because it's less than half the price of the MDI2. I got the MDI2 because it supports Global B. System, AC hardware. Jonathan, there are some Toyota platforms supported. Just go to the HP Tuners website and see if your vehicle's listed. What are your thoughts on using a micro squirt or mega squirt on a single turbo LS3 6-speed manual for boost control, methanol injection, and two-step? Go for a boosted SS. I use a micro squirt on my truck for auxiliary fueling. I am a pretty big fan of the micro squirt. What up, DZ? Mallard 7, I did try the EQ torque multiplier table. Did not make a difference. And I'll be honest with you, I'm afraid that that table does some weird stuff in the background. Because it didn't seem to be commanding power enrichment properly. Yeah, Ted, me too. I need to get stuff set up for class. If I don't do it today, I'll do it tomorrow and get all the data logs ready and stuff like that. Ugh. I've got my P59 with my bench force harness already plugged in. I just need to take it upstairs and hook it up to the box. Mallard 7, one of the approaches is to just tune off the base or the minimum spark table. And that may be what we have to resort to in this situation. I am trying to figure out what I can do through the torque tuning, but it is literally, as I said, it is torque management advance, which is not advance, it's actually retard, is commanding timing, and whenever it commands timing, it actually pulls timing. I got the P59 for the Gen 3 class, so we can plug into a live ECU and poke around on it during the Gen 3 class. So, Paul, my truck does not have start-stop, but there are people out there that sell modules because I put one on the Rubicon. Plugs right in, and it basically just disables the start-stop feature. Saves the last setting that you had in there, even through key-ons. Nope, you cannot disable the torque management from controlling spark on the 5th gen stuff because of the torque modeling. It has to be in there. Hey, Mr. Squigio. No, Jonathan, you cannot use a Mongoose Toyota for GM programming. You might be able to for programming, but you can't use it for tuning. Programming and tuning are separate things. The Mongoose you should be able to use as an interface, much like the MDI2. It is a programming interface, not a tuning interface. Hey, Scott, welcome to the membership. Appreciate you signing up. Hey, Ben. What's the last 4 numbers on this one? 0411. I believe this one's out of a Corvette, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't hooked it up and pulled the file off of it yet. What spark plug am I using? Hell, I don't remember. NGK's most likely. The guy that sold it to me said it was a P59. I'm going to be angry if it ain't. Well, imagine that. Somebody lied. It doesn't really matter either way. Not for what I'm doing with it. That is a bummer, though. Oh, excuse me. Yep. I got to work on my intake ducts. Need to weld a couple together. No, it is straight up timing. You can see it on the graph where it is pulling the timing. In fact, at this point in time, at 2,000 RPMs at a little over 3 pounds of boost, it is commanding -7 degrees. It is warm. I had to turn my fan off so you guys could hear me. I was really bummed. I was hoping to get out today and get this timing situation sorted. As I said, I've got a way of doing it that'll work. I know it'll work. I just don't want to do that if I don't have to. And so I'm trying to figure out a way. And I'll be honest with you, the limitation is because of the auxiliary fueling. As I've talked about in the past, the cylinder air mass is compressed because the calculations are not correct anymore, and that is causing these issues. And I'm trying to. Ben's like, it's 136 over here in Saudi Arabia. Ben's like, shut the hell up, bro. It's not hot. Thanks, Jonathan. I'm trying to figure out a way to make the virtual torque tables play nicely. Mm-hmm. I've got some other things to test out and try before I give up and just go full bore. Hell with my phone? Oh, it's right. I'm over here looking for my phone, and it's right here. What's the downside to the other method? You do not have any kind of knock protection. So, favorite flavor of Truly? That's a good question, Daniel. I don't know. Check back with me on that one. I got a berry pack this week. I think I like the citrus ones a little bit better. Scott says, start tuning a Gen 5 2016 Camaro 6.2 after I drive and park my car at home. My wideband always seems to read. No, don't worry about that. If you're in the middle of tuning, Scott, I mean, you can try and fix that, but whenever you put the narrow bands back into action, they will also solve that problem. Well, yeah, Mallard 7, you are correct, and that's why we will eventually go over that to fix it, because this, let's be honest, this truck is beyond a bunch of that stuff, so yeah, Yeah, but as I said, I would like to figure out what the issue is. I mean, we know what the issue is. I would like to find a way to solve the issue within the constraints of the ECU without basically bypassing it. Yeah, you know what? He does not respond to messages, so faster proms. I've messaged him a couple times. So. Probably be a waste of my typing fingers to even try. Like to tune a mild cam on a Camaro 5.7 2000. Where to start? Idle was the basic, but then after that, it's just all airflow. Julemi? How do you pronounce your name? I know you're the French guy. You emailed me earlier. I haven't had a chance to get back to you. It is all airflow. Just got to do the airflow. On a 2001 or 2000 in particular, just start, bump the idle up so it runs consistently. Get airflow readings, AFR error readings. See where it's at. Interpolate down below that. That'll help you dial in the area as you lower the idle down. No, Mallard 7. There is a table specifically in the ECU that is the minimum allowed spark that can be commanded, and that's what a lot of times what we'll do is we'll use it to go in and bypass low spark at idle whenever we're having a tough time dialing in the torque tables to get idle, because what you'll see is if you're getting 0 or negative idle at negative timing at idle on the Gen 5 stuff, it's because the torque tables are off, and it happens really bad after cams. You've got to go in there and lower those tables out, because right now, like, my truck is pulling like 10 degrees of timing at idle, and I would not be surprised if the headers were almost getting red. They were about 1300 degrees at idle. So that is because there is not enough timing down there. So what we can do as a Band-Aid fix is to go into that minimum spark table and bump that up to 15 degrees, and it just makes sure that you're commanding 15 degrees at idle. So the idea behind that is to basically use that as your spark table. You go in and basically make it match your high octane table. So, and then whenever you're tuning, you need to shift both of those up or down appropriately as you do your tuning. Is there anything different I should do on a Gen 5 math tuning whenever using the math tutorial 103? Scott, you're talking about a video that's been so long ago, I can't even remember. But there should, check the Gen 5 playlist out. There should be a video specifically. The math tutorial, the original one though, is Gen 5 base, so it should work for you. CHK, I've been trying to get a hold of you to tune my 5.3, need your attention. Shoot me an email, info@goatropegarage. If you've already shot me an email, I just haven't gotten around to responding to it yet. I have 3 email addresses, one for mail order tunes, one for patrons tunes, and then the info one. And they have a order of importance of me replying to them. When the idle is tuned, the car idles right what needs to be tuned. Just airflow, all airflow. You just gotta go through the mass airflow sensor, then the volumetric efficiency table. Just standard airflow. That's the only thing on a cam really that you're going to have to adjust. As I said, you might on a Gen 3, you might need to dial in a little more timing on the bottom end to get that thing idling a little bit better. So just go into your idle range, look at where your idle is at versus your spark table. Work that thing up 15, 18 degrees or so. Gotcha, bug. Whew. Man, chat room, you're awful quiet. There's like 50 of you in here. Nobody's talking. Let's go. Talk. Talk to me. Talk to me. Very interesting, though. I'm not sure. Let me look at something. Let me look at this log. So this thing has the factory torque tables in there. Let's look at. Okay. Listen. Here we go. Engine torque delivered 142. Commands 369 on spark. Pretty good. 369 on spark. TCS. I just added the TCS. Yeah, I do mail order tunes on the website. I do TCS logging is saying 263. We're at 169. Still got timing. 263, 234. We still, no, timing is, I'm telling you, the closer we get to this TCS desired engine torque, the timing starts falling off. That's so interesting. Taryn, we're all beginners at one point in time. It just takes time and a lot of studying. Make it waffles. About cam idle. If cam loses vacuums, we have to close the throttle to recompensate. I mean, yes. You don't necessarily, because, I mean, that's a tough question. Some cams just don't like to pull vacuum because of the overlap. So we try to find a point where we get the most amount of vacuum as humanly possible on the cam. And I'm having an even worse problem because I've got a centrifugal blower that makes boost off of idle. Literally, this thing it makes 3 psi at like 1500 RPM. So it is pushing against the throttle plate, and the throttle plate is, obviously trying to maintain idle on top of having a cam on there. I have a hard time getting any vacuum out of this setup. Jonathan, no, it is all mail order. So you have HP tuners and a wideband. You pull your logs. You send me your tune. You pull your logs. I make adjustments to your tune. I send it back. You log. Send it to me. I make adjustments to the tune. Send it back. You log. It is a long, drawn-out process. Takes often weeks. Takes weeks. But it is a custom tune. Nothing is canned on this whatsoever. I am tuning specifically to your video or your vehicle. Whereas a lot of people, what they're going to do is you're going to send them your log file and your tune file. They're going to go in and they're going to apply changes that they've applied to other vehicles, and then they're going to send it back to you. Verify that it doesn't completely ruin your vehicle by going lean, and then you're done. Whereas I'm going through and I'm doing all of the steps that I do whenever I tune my own vehicles on yours. Price for a mail order tune is $650 for any mods. Doesn't matter. So I did dial in a V map. What about power enrichment, EQ ratio, wide open tuning throttle? Do not do wide open tuning throttle without a wideband. Gotta have a wideband. You don't have to buy anything. The wideband, if you are modifying a vehicle, the wideband is the most important tool that you buy. Listen to me. Wideband, don't attempt anything without a wideband. Please. Well, Robert. But yes, dial in the V, dial in the math. EQ ratio is probably rich. All EQ ratios are rich from the factory, so you can pull a little bit out of the EQ ratio for power enrichment. Yeah, check the website. Might be sold out. If we're sold out right now, email me, because I only tune so many vehicles at a time. And as I finish up one vehicle, then I'll add another slot on the website. But if it does say sold out, go ahead and email me, and I'll see where I'm at and give you a heads up. And if I'm close enough where I'm about to transition over or be done with the vehicle, I'll go ahead and open up a slot for you. So, as I said, I pay so much attention to the guys that I'm doing this with, and it involves a lot of emails. And in some situations, there's some guys I can get a tune done in about 20 logs. There's some guys that I've been spending months with on very modified cars, and we may have 60 logs and tune adjustments to get things right. I've got a guy that I've been working on his Corvette, his blown Corvette. We've been working on it for a long time because it has a lot of very small issues on getting things dialed in to what I consider a perfect tune. But the nice thing about it is that you walk away from it with a tune that is custom for your vehicle. The majority of tuners just throw it in math and just make a couple adjustments to the math curve and then send it down the road. Exactly, Ben. Do it properly, even if it's a struggle, even if you have to fight it, even if it's a struggle, you know, spend the time, do it right. It'll pay off in the long run. I don't do remote tuning because remote tuning is a pain in the butt. And honestly, my tuning approach just does not work with remote tuning. It takes so long. You know, I put 15, 20, 30 hours into your tune. You know, that is what it boils down to. Whenever a tune is done, I tuned a really crazy Land Rover with an LSA crate motor in it over for a guy in Iceland. Super awesome setup, you know, and I probably had 30 hours into that tune by the time it was done. I don't really, like, if you take the amount of time that I spend on these things, I undersell myself, but the idea behind it is I'm trying to provide a service out there. This service is provided by a lot of people, but as I said, there's not very many people out there that are doing it in a way that I would consider worth your money. I would almost rather you pay somebody to dyno tune it than to have somebody do a remote tune. Ask somebody whenever they're doing a remote tune or a mail order tune, the steps, just like the dyno video where I talk about, ask them the steps. Hey, thanks for signing up, Ben. Ask them the steps. Ask them what they're going to do. Ask, you know, make sure that they explain to you the process, because you know, they may have this fancy form where you drop down a bunch of boxes with all your mods on it, but at the end of the day, if they're not going through and looking at your fuel trims, if they don't ask you if you have a wideband, like, run away. Well, they're Trulies. I'm rehydrating right now. Wider tuners boast about having a straight line AFR in the dyno. This important, yeah. Well, you got to remember, Mallard 7, whenever you're looking at a dyno plot, it often starts around 3,000 RPMs. So they're already into power enrichment for the most part. So they're also 9 out of 10 times they're looking at the exhaust AFR ratio, which we all know is not the accurate way of actually pulling AFR ratios. Wide open throttle, it's not that bad as an indicator that you're running safely, but I would not tune off of you know, that by any means. Any mods, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the mods are, I'll tune it. If I can, and I'll tell you straight up, if it's something that I don't think that I can get tuned for you properly, I will say, hey, you know, this is something that needs to be done by a professional in person. Yeah, Drew, the thing about it is, you know, that I've been doing the videos for the past year and a half. I have probably seen 30 or 40 custom tunes that people have had done by tuners that guys have sent me to look at, and I've seen 2 or 3 out of those 30 that I would say, okay, yeah, this is a tune that I think was done properly for your vehicle. The other 27 are absolutely junk, and their car is running safe, but it is not running the power. Yeah, exactly. He could smell it. He knows it's running rich because he's got gasoline pouring out of the exhaust pipe. So at least he's not running lean, right? Scott says, Bank 1 LTFT runs around 7 while Bank 2 runs around 3. Are these too far off? Nah, I wouldn't say so. They're averaging between the two whenever they're doing fueling correction anyway, so you're getting a 5-ish correction on that. Yeah, Michael. Trust me, somebody that bought a custom tune the other day sent me a picture of his Tune by Me sticker, and I was like, you bought the wrong sticker, man. That's actually, I mean, technically, I guess it was tuned by me, but the idea behind the sticker is that you did the tuning. Jonathan Blunt, I heard that 232, 234 TSP cam is too big for the street build. Iron Block Gen 4, is that true? 112 LSA. No. No, not with 112 LSA is perfectly fine for the street. Now, if you were running a 108 or a 106 LSA, yeah, it might have an issue on the street. Is an aftermarket intake upgrade worth it on a mild LS cam upgrade? The Killed 339, the way to check is watch your manifold air pressure and see how much vacuum you are pulling at wide open throttle. If you are not pulling vacuum, if you are hitting barometric pressure, then it is a waste of money. Now, if there is a restriction in there, you will still be slightly in vacuum at wide open throttle, and that means that you are not breathing into the manifold. There is a restriction from the manifold out, and then a cold air might be beneficial. Quick and easy way to tell. Now, there's some other stuff that go on into that, but if you are, and something else to think about, if you are getting to zero or atmospheric before you get up there, like if you open the throttle body up and it's like all of a sudden you have atmospheric pressure in the manifold, you might have some restrictions on the exhaust side. Just saying. 08 Suburban 5.3 with DOD delete, and some stage 2 truck torque cam. No need a higher stall converter, but is there a way to get more tip in to get moving from a stop? Wait a second, what? Get more tip in. You shouldn't have any. If you got too tight of a converter, the thing should be pushing through the brakes. Yeah, D White, that sounds like a nightmare. Dyno remote tuning is rushed because of the hour dyno, right? Yeah, I would not want to do that. What do you think about 1400 for a camshaft tune and 3 days of work? I mean, that seems reasonable. Camshafts are intensive enough. If you're getting the camshaft, the installation, and the tune, I mean, that seems good. Yeah, 92 LST kid. Can you not disable the catalyst check on the P59? Let's see here. P59 ECU, exhaust, SEGR, temperature control. No, maybe you can't do maybe you can't disable the catalyst check. Anybody know? I'm not seeing it. I know you can on later generations. Nope, not seeing it. Let's search. Navigator. Nope, just cat over temp, which is not the same as the catalyst check. No, you're right. Shall we disable the dynamic airflow? I mean, it depends. Okay, so here's the thing about dynamic airflow. Dynamic airflow is technically only disabled whenever you are in speed density MAF failed. Even if you have dynamic airflow shut down at the bottom end to do what we call the MAF tuning of it, you are still in dynamic airflow. And it is still referencing your volumetric efficiency tables. Oh, no, just the tune? No, that seems ridiculously high. But I don't know what the Giuliani, I don't know what the tuning market is in France, so I don't know what it costs over there. Can you touch on what injector duty percentage is? That's just your duty cycle. That is, if you were to take pulse width of the injectors that they're firing, and then you multiply it by RPM or divide it. There's math that you do versus RPM that shows you the duty cycle of the injectors. And so you want to keep duty cycle underneath 80% because anything over 80% you're technically wide open. And then past that point, you will have fall off on fueling because you can't deliver any more fueling at that point in time. And it's also not really good on the injectors to be stuck wide open all the time. Still can't turn off the max line pressure in SD2, even with the patch, huh? LS2 Fast 88-pound injectors, brand new. You know, for 125 bucks for 88 pounders, you could ballpark the injector data and then just correct it out. Oh, you're right. There is no TCS patch on the P59s. How are other guys doing it? Got to be a way of reducing the trans pressure from whenever you're doing your speed density table. Oh, I'm sure it is. Just go in and manually lower your pressures. I guess it doesn't matter. It's still going to command max, isn't it? I don't know, 92. I'm trying to think of a way that you could get around that, even if it were complicated. Ran out of math. Running a bigger intake pipe. Is math the first thing tuned when trying to get my LY5 swap to run well on an E38? TSP cam LS6 intakes. Not sure which math sensor I should run yet. Generally, Jonathan, I would tune math first because it's easier. Sounds good, Julian. Julian, how do you pronounce your name? I don't want to mispronounce your name. Oh, gotcha. You maxed out the math table on the flow rate. Yep. Guillaume, got you. Thank you, Guillaume. I will remember that. Perfect. Yeah, you got plenty of duty cycle left. You could do almost that. Got you. You could do injector scaling. '92, if you wanted to, you could shift your stoic value to allow it to flow more at the same airflow. Gets pretty off into the weeds though because it'll mess with cylinder air mass, but you could theoretically still get your mass airflow to work. Yeah, Garrett's correct, Jonathan. Get an LS7 slot style math. Anything special to know about math tuning in a manual car? No, you just got to disable CFCO on top of DFCO. Stock injectors for that LY5. No, you should be all right. You might be getting close, but you should be all right. How do you figure duty cycle injectors? Danny, if you log pulse width, there is math built into the scanner to give you duty cycle. You got to log pulse width and RPM, those two things. Yeah, what you're effectively doing is you're shifting the amount of fuel that is being delivered for the airflow. You're out of pounds per hour is what you are on your math table. You got hertz, you don't have pounds per hour. So if you adjust your stoic value to scale your injectors, you can scale them back where they're actually delivering more fuel than it is reporting. And so where you have this amount of air, it will say, okay, I need this amount of fuel, but you're actually delivering this amount of fuel. Does that make sense? Your airflow calculations will be incorrect. And thus, your cylinder air mass calculations will be incorrect. So you got to pay attention to things like your spark table that are based on cylinder air mass, because now you're not in the same area that you were. You might have been here, now you might be over here. You just got to do some balancing act. Yeah, Dwight, I don't normally talk about stuff like this, but that would be the last course that I would take. There's a lot of tuning courses out there that you could pay for. That would be, the tuning school would probably be the last one that I would pay for. Fuel open loop, shall I mark them all with a 1 all over the place? No. Let me look at what you're talking about. What's your platform, Ben? You know, that tab, you really don't need to mess with anything. Truck is heavy. I'm having trouble getting moving, especially when it's hot. But my stop sign going hill is lazy off the line for the amount of power it is making. Well, you gotta realize that your cam is not designed to make power in the range where you're coming off the line. Your cam's probably got a power range of 3,200 RPMs plus. So you're losing power down at that level. That's the whole idea behind a camshaft. The stock camshaft that was in there was designed for maximum torque down at the bottom end. Whenever you go to a performance camshaft, it is designed for power, and there's a point in which the cam makes power beyond that RPM. And so below that point, you're actually going to lose power. Gen 3 Silverado. No, leave that table as it is. Yeah, have fun, Michael. Garrett is correct. There is not duty cycle on Gen 5s. We use pulse width strictly on Gen 5s since they're direct injection, and on those you want to stay underneath 6 milliseconds on a factory camshaft. Camo on the LS1 does not want to run after it's up to temp. Any tips? Zero out your cylinder air mass table. Your cylinder air charge temp, whatever it's called. Cylinder air charge. I don't even know why they do this. And if the complex model is still enabled, disable it. The cylinder charge temp bias, zero that out. Shift it over to the IAT. So your IAT is calculating your air charge. For MAF tuning, max it out so CFCO does not come on. So, make 6 miles an hour 300 or whatever. E39A might be a hybrid. Might be that crossover Gen 4, Gen 5, but I'm going to lean towards it's probably more Gen 5 than Gen 4. It is probably utilizing the torque tables to actually deliver power and airflow commands, as opposed to the Gen 4 that uses the torque table for things like traction control and shifting, and that's about it. But honestly, Robert, without looking at a tune, I wouldn't be able to tell you for sure. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be more Gen 5 than Gen 4. But it might be one of those that we consider a 4.5. Garrett's got a good point. Yeah, check your IAT spark. Make sure it's not pulling a bunch of timing. Because if it's heat soaked, it will think that you have 130 or 140 degree IAT temperatures, and it will pull like 7 or 8 degrees of timing. Trying not to blow up an engine, not trying to blow up an engine. Limp mode on wide open, had to, yep. That air mass error table will get you every time. Yeah, I mean it is what it is on the stall stuff. The stall idea is to help smooth things out, really, on the bottom end. But you're just going to lose some out of the hole. Yes, that is a supercharger. That's the supercharger for the Cadillac that I've not gotten around to installing yet. Can you actually see it? Oh yeah, you can see it right there, right by my drag radials. I'd like to use Siemens 60 pounders on a 1.4 turbo. Can get them work on all operating conditions. I'm guessing, Mike, that you're having issues down low. I'm ready to jerk that North Star out. Might be a winter project. Mike, check minimum pulse width. See if you can lower the minimum pulse width down. Because what it is if you go into the tune underneath fuel, let me open up a more relevant to what you're working on tune here. If you go into fuel, under general, you will have a minimum base pulse width. Lower that down. You can try 0.1 milliseconds, 0.15, and see if that will, because what's happening is the default minimum pulse width that were in there for the previous injectors is wide enough that on these 60 pounds, it is shooting a lot of fuel in. So, yeah, look for the minimum pulse width and lower that down to the point. I've seen this all the time on whenever we run really big injectors. That will literally just hold them open longer than we want to. There you go. I'd run them even. You can. I think 0.15 is or 0.3 is the point where it cut off. I can't remember on the port injectors though. Let me look. I dealt with this recently on a turbocharged truck. See what I did on his. Oh, I dropped those down to 0.6 even. And that fixed his issue, but it said you got to play with your injectors. Yeah, I think I dropped them down to 0.680. What IAT should I start pulling timing with a 7875 and a 5.3? And how much pull X degrees later? What kind of IATs are you seeing, S10? Keep going. Keep going, Mike. See if you can get it lower. There is a cutoff where it just won't work anymore. How long did it take you to do the trunnion upgrade? 2 hours. Wasn't bad. Danny, the vehicle that I had to adjust the minimum pulse width on was a vehicle running decap stocked injectors. I personally am not a fan of them. I know there's plenty of people out there that run them, have good luck with them, stuff like that, but I am not a fan of them because the predictability of them at the lower flow rates is erratic at best. As Vasilili says, Danny, he hates them because I've talked about it plenty. Yeah, I did mine with a vise, and it took a lot longer. If I had an arbor press or something like that, it would have gone a lot quicker. But I was not going to spend $80 for an arbor press just to do trunnion upgrades. Me too, me too, me too. Okay, listen, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, everybody that took the time to chime in today. Join us on this impromptu Saturday live stream. Good to see some familiar faces along with some new faces. Thank you, everybody. Wallace popped in just in time for me to say goodbye. You know, 92, I have a drill press and I didn't even think about doing that. Okay, Craig, I was online for 10 minutes and you never showed up. So, 10 minutes is my cutoff. But I was going to shoot you an email here in a bit about the issue that you're having. But I'm glad you had it. You got it solved. So I don't know if the time zone got messed up whenever you were looking at it, but it was 1:30 Eastern that you signed up for, and I was literally sitting right here for at 1:30 Eastern waiting on you. So, S10, not much IAT. I don't know. 130 degrees and above. And then just like 1 degree every once in a while. Play with it. See what your motor likes. See when you start getting in the knock. 410 gears will make a huge difference. 410 gears will make a huge difference. Okay. Yeah, Craig, and in fact, I was going to tell you to go back to your VE table 9. Go back to that, and then just focus on the bottom area, the lower RPM area, where you were lean, and leave the rest of it alone because it looks great. The rest of that VE table was spot on. VE table 9 is really good to go, so don't worry about the stuff below that. And then remember that the mass airflow is doing the heavy lifting on it. Whenever you have dynamic back on, you set that threshold, 2,500, 3,000 RPMs. Above that, the mass airflow is doing all the calculations. You're just making sure that the correlation is close. You're good to go. If you have any questions, though, shoot me another email. But, yeah, sorry I missed you today, man. As I said, I sat there for 10 minutes and you never showed. But there's plenty of time slots still available. So if you do have questions, just sign up for another time slot. Okay, that's it for tonight. Today, whatever, I'm going to go take a shower because I'm drenched in sweat. You guys know the drill. ABT, always be tuning.